Hey YouTube, welcome to Hope for Survival. Thanks for tuning in. I have a special opportunity and honor today here in North Carolina at our favorite preparedness stores, Carolina Readiness. And Patriot Girl, as I call her, from 6 years ago, Miss Stephanie, came over to meet me here to do this video to talk about Yancey County, North Carolina, which was, if not one of the most severe hit,
it was the worst,
disaster areas in Hurricane Helene. And she is one of the key cogs in the Rebuilding Hollers come hell or high water. Are you still doing real estate too?
Yeah, I have to sell real estate to pay my own bills.
Okay.
So yeah.
I always enjoyed following her real estate post. You won't find a realtor who drives a Hummer and then on the way to do a showing takes her boots off and jumps in the creek to take a dip. So Steph, thanks for coming down.
Thank you so much for having me.
And doing this for us.
I'm thankful.
You know, in the early days of the disaster, there was so much attention and everything, but there's not a lot of coverage, a lot of media overall still showing the pain and the suffering that people are going through. And you've got so many projects going on, and I wanted to get you to tell folks what is going on in Yancey County.
Okay.
If you could.
I will.
From your warehouse,
yeah,
to what are you at, like 150 plus homes
we have 447
that are under rebuild right now?
Yeah.
So
It's been busy. So I'm in Yancey and Mitchell County, which is western North Carolina. So we're right on the North Carolina-Tennessee line. We're in between the Blue Ridge Parkway and the Appalachian Trail. So it's the most beautiful remote mountains that I think you can find. We have Mount Mitchell, which is the highest peak east of Mississippi. That's also what grabbed that storm and kept it spinning all around us, which caused extraordinary devastation. When they finally put the report out a few months ago or a month ago, we had over 30 inches of rain. Winds were 105 miles an hour, and it absolutely destroyed Yancey and Mitchell County. See, we have 3 huge rivers that come through Yancey County, and so there was so much devastation with water, but then we also had all these microburst tornadoes. So we lost entire mountainsides of trees. We had significant landslides, over 200 landslides alone in Yancey County. We had 7,000 structures damaged or destroyed, over 2,000 of those being homes. The rest were barns, because we're rural mountains, so we have barns, we have workshops, we have art studios, and so many they're just gone. They're just completely gone. We lost, the last FEMA representative told me we completely lost 79 homes. But there were 2,000 that were completely gone or so destroyed we don't know that we can rebuild them. And so Rebuilding Hollers was formed out of that. Because nobody was coming. And so we started as just doing basic distribution. You were so instrumental in getting us stuff, and I'm so thankful for that. And I kept thinking that people were going to come and I could go home and do my apocalypse crafts, but that didn't happen. And so Rebuilding Hollers Foundation was born to rebuild my community because I love it there. I did have the greatest adventures in my previous life as a local realtor. And I miss that life greatly, but more importantly, we have to rebuild our community. We are rural mountains, and the last thing we need is a lot of abandoned properties where people can't get in and out of their homes. Right now, we have 300 bridges that are destroyed. That's 300 families that can't get home still just because of their bridge. And guess what happens once you can't get home to your bridge, get across a bridge, then you've abandoned the property. And so then they can't get help from FEMA because they've abandoned the property, but they can't get to the property because the bridge is destroyed. So we're dealing with so many extraordinary situations there. And so we just started selling t-shirts and hoodies. God sent a print shop closed down. We put our logo on it. We started selling that and raising money to buy building materials. And in buying building materials and in paying local subcontractors to help our community members get back together, we've spent almost $300,000 in getting people back together piece by piece. We also have a donation yard, so we've had 4 18-wheelers of vinyl siding. We have had an 18-wheeler of sheetrock. We've had multiple 18-wheelers of rough cut lumber, and I have an 18-wheeler of shingles on the way. Awesome. So I'm so excited about that because we use all of that material, stuff that we're buying and stuff that comes in on donation to rebuild our community. We have 447 projects right now that we are actively trying to get them the building materials and supplies that they need to rebuild their home or barn or business or church. So everybody matters to me. A lot of the big organizations, they're very specific. There's a lot of, you can't do this or you can't have that, or there's just all these red tape. And I don't have red tape. It's what do you need and how can we help you? And so that's how we're getting homes back together. We're getting businesses back together. We're getting churches back together. So.
You were, a few moments ago before we started filming, you were talking about individuals there who still cannot take showers.
Yes. Yeah, we have over 300 families that do not have running water. And so what we have done there is we above our space where we have our office and our warehouse and our yard, we have 3 one-bedroom condos. And so we converted those condos into respite units. So they're fully furnished. They have washer, dryers, showers, tubs, and so we invite our community members to come and they can spend two nights at a time with us, or just come and have a shower and do laundry, because the services that came in were gone right after the election. So we haven't had any National Guard presence or, the big, like the shower trailers and the laundry trailers. We haven't had any of those since the election in November. But even when they were there, they were for volunteers. So when my community members would go to them, they would say, no, these are for volunteers. So we've had a terrible time in Yancey and Mitchell County. We're very remote. Matter of fact, the governor, he came to Yancey County, but when we asked him to go see the worst, he said that was too far. So we've just very much been abandoned in Yancey and Mitchell County.
I don't know if you know this or not. It's kind of an off-the-wall quiet question. For the area that you're serving to rebuild, what would you estimate the tax base there to be? What would be the average income there?
Well, it's a unique question, and it's kind of multifaceted, because before COVID, half of our population was second homes. So we were still a very small area, and so before COVID, I would say the average home price was $150,000 to $250,000. Now we had some big farms that would change that, but mostly, $150,000 to $200,000 pre-COVID. When COVID happened, because of our rural designation, because we had some of the fastest internet in the state, and the natural beauty of it, we had a wave on the mountains. So during the storm or at the storm, I would say we were at about 20% of our population was second homes, and the rest was full-time residents. And our medium house, the tax value actually went up. They hadn't done a reappraisal in 8 years. They did the reappraisal. Taxes went through the roof, literally, in 2024. And so most values then become 350 to 500,000 was our tax base by that time. So it's been fluctuating so much.
I don't know if you've heard this or not, but I've heard rumblings from other podcasters in their theory as to this whole event, and that is the higher ups were looking at land that is waterfronted, and if they could rid the homes and the people, they could turn around and redevelop it and bring in more tax base. Have you heard that?
Well, so what I have seen is, and what I have felt and what I've experienced and shared with my community is no response is a response.
It is.
So I feel like at first I would have said, well, surely not. We're remote mountains. But since the storm, that is absolutely my opinion, because no response is a response. And the governor held off the National Guard. They held off search and rescue. They held off every organization that our state has to come help us. They were not allowed to come help us. And so that really devastated our initial recovery and search and rescue efforts and access. If it hadn't been for mountain folk and tractors, we'd probably still be trapped in the hollers. And that's who got us out, ourselves. Mountain folk were immediately, the moment the storm was over, chainsaws were going, tractors were going. I mean, we were cutting our way out. We were rebuilding the roads. We were stealing equipment and rebuilding roads. I mean, that's how that happened in Yancey and Mitchell County. Now, I did hear a unique story about 3 years before the storm. One of the most devastated hollers, where there's the Big Toe River. 3 years ago, an organization had approached a family wanting to buy their big family farm, and they wanted to dam up the Nolichucky. And so that would indicate that yes, there was consideration towards. But see, they're not going to sell. Mountain folk are going to sell. They don't want to sell. They don't want to go to a city. They want to be home. And so once I start, and that came straight. Like the guy that was in the meeting told me that directly. And so yeah, I feel like there is no response is a response. The whole time I've been telling people something isn't right. Something is not right about any of what has happened here. We've been abandoned. We've had no response. Nobody seems to care what happened, and we're talking war zone level devastation.
Yeah, I've told folks that when I was working across the mountain in Tennessee in Elk Mills, Poga, and Carter County, that I've been to disasters all over the world. But the level of destruction and the magnitude of how much, the vastness of the damage is just, until you go see it, pictures and videos, it does not tell the story.
It doesn't.
And entire streets, entire towns, gone.
Just gone, like gone.
Yeah.
You can't get to it. Gone.
What was once a beautiful front yard, there's now a river running through it.
Yeah.
You know, how do you claim, how could you sell your property that on paper is totally different than what it is today?
Right. Well, and how do you rebuild when FEMA's like, oh, in the future you may be a flood? And you know what I think a lot of people don't realize as well is that flood insurance is underwritten by FEMA. So every one of my community members that had flood insurance, they were denied or got a teeny tiny smidgen of money from FEMA. They didn't get their flood insurance, even though they had flood insurance. And then if you're going to get FEMA money to rebuild, now you have to have their flood insurance. It's a mess. It is everything at every level of what we have dealt with is the things I know now. I had no idea. I had no idea that FEMA underwrote the flood insurance. And Lloyd's of London. There's two underwriters for flood insurance, Lloyd's of London and FEMA. And they're not paying. They're not paying at all. Now they'll tell you they've spent $26 million in Yancey County. However, there were 6,730 applications for help. So that would calculate into about $5,000 a family if they helped every family, which they have not. I mean, families that, one of my buddies that, one of my projects, he just shared with us the other day that, you know, his home is destroyed. He had con artists right afterwards. That's a whole nother level of what we've had to deal with. FEMA has given him $1,400 for rent. He's not been able to live in his home for 7 months. And that was enough money to cover rent and the power bill and the utilities for his home destroyed. $1,400.
Yeah. So much of this, the people can't get out from under. They have mortgages, they lost cars, they lost jobs.
Yes.
And I know across the state line in Tennessee and Irwin, you know, there was issues with properties being condemned, and then the individuals being told if they wanted to appeal it, they had to go before a hearing. Well, the problem is that the government, FEMA, would send them an email. Well, there was no way to check your email.
Yeah.
There was no cell towers. The internet was down. Their cars were lost.
Yeah, gone.
And it would be like a week from now.
Yeah.
And they would miss these hearings, and guess what?
Yeah, nothing.
They lost.
And it's true. I mean, like at my house, we were without power for 27 days. And actually, in one of our communities off 19W, they were without power for over 4 months. It was 4 months before they got power restored to them. Now, here's the thing you have to remember, though. We have these big rivers. When the rivers, I mean, they rose 30 and 40 feet out of their banks. They didn't just take out the road, but along the road is no longer there. That the power follows the road, the internet follows the road, everything followed that road. So when it took out the road, it took out everything. It took out everything.
I was watching a video that I think you posted recently that was showing a mother and a couple kids that were rock hopping, and it was the first time they were able to get back up to their home that was kind of on a hill. I think it was yours.
I don't think that one was mine.
How many families still right now cannot get to their home?
At least 300. At minimum, there are at least 300. That's just in Yancey County that don't have a bridge home.
So do you have? Are there makeshift schools open now?
So we lost Micaville Elementary, and then the high school in Yancey County schools opened 9 weeks after the storm. Mitchell County got opened a little sooner. They didn't have as much devastation as Yancey did. They had more severe pockets, but the schools opened back up in November. That's when they opened.
So let's talk about the shortage. This is everywhere, but let's talk about it for Yancey County. The shortage of skilled workers.
So we actually have an incredible amount of skilled workers in Yancey County, and we even are partnered with our local high school. We have a state-of-the-art construction technology program where they're basically building manufactured homes in this amazing space. And they're small homes. They're not tiny. They're about 580 square feet. The problem is that, like my favorite contractor, his home is also gone. They lost everything. He can't rebuild because the floodway, FEMA, state, you know, all these different complications, but he still has to work. So the locals want to work in Yancey County. The problem is nobody has money to hire them and pay them because insurance hasn't paid, FEMA hasn't paid. And that's really where Rebuilding Hollers comes in, because if they've gotten any money, then they can pay the contractor and I can buy the building materials. So we've been able to do that. I have been able to pay some contractors. I've been able to pay to put a couple roofs on and do some different things. But mostly it's not that it's a shortage in skilled labor. It is that it's a shortage in the money to pay them because they have to work. This is how they make a living, you know.
I know that some of the carpenter teams in Tennessee, and I know around Asheville, are coming into the areas through a large church, and they're staying for weeks upon weeks upon weeks, and their church is actually paying them to come into your home and do the repairs. I met a carpenter out of Lynchburg, Virginia, that was part of that program. Phenomenal work. I mean, just meticulous interior recovery.
Yeah.
It was awesome to see his vested skills and effort to give this family back the best product that they could.
Right.
I mean, you didn't see a drop of paint
Right.
out of place. It was awesome. So tell folks how they can find you, how they can help, and how, if they want, they can go find the merchandise.
Okay.
What's the new word? Merch?
Merch.
Yeah.
We got merch.
The new
We got
word
merch. This is the big logo. Can you see on the back? That's the big one. This is a
The
new
merch.
shirt right here. Oh, I gotta get your hat. It's in the car. So rebuildinghollers.com or .org is how you can check out our organization, see some of our projects, follow along with our recovery on Facebook. That's going to be rebuildinghollers.com or org. We do have merchandise. That's how we raise money. So we sell t-shirts, hoodies, hats. We have cool bracelets now. Anything we can to raise money to assist our community. And that's where you can follow along, make donations. We do have an awesome event coming up. Some of our roads are prepared for folks to come see us. So we have an event coming up May 31st called Jeep Into the Hollers. See, so many people came to help us. I don't think people don't understand. There was such an incredible, overwhelming response. And what most of you don't know is that if you hadn't have come, we would have never had anything because we had no government response. Ever. We still haven't.
That answers a lot of your questions. I get asked all the time.
Yeah. If y'all hadn't have
Hearing
come,
it again.
we would have never had anything. I mean, that is just a fact. And I stood in a parking lot the first 7 weeks every day handing stuff out to people that were just coming out of their holler for the first time. No power, no internet, no cell service, which also means no credit cards. So we were a cash-only society for weeks, 7 weeks, really. And without what y'all sent, we would have never had anything. And I'm so thankful, but we still need help. We absolutely still need help. And so we are planning our Jeep Into the Hollers event May 31st, and we will have 3 tours for you to take. You don't have to have a Jeep. You can come with anything you want. Tickets are $20. And that will be going to our local fire departments, our rescue squad, our emergency management program. And so we're trying to bring awareness to Yancey and Mitchell County so we can show you what's happened here. And then we'll have a festival in town in downtown Burnsville where we'll have a silent auction. We're going to have a lot of, there's going to be bouncy houses, gem mining, putt-putt, food vendors, local vendors, and of course our wonderful downtown. Because the truth is my community is failing. My community is devastated. And we need help. My businesses need help. My friends need help. And the only way I know to get that help is to ask you all to come back. To pretty please come back and see our devastation. The mountains are still very beautiful, but we're still very broken. And all of America is who saved us in the beginning. And we still need all of America to come and help us pretty please, because it is still very bad.
So we met about 5 or 6 years ago on another project that Stephanie presented to me. And over the years, we are both into prepping and preparedness. Now, having witnessed this disaster, and I know you're often talking to deaf ears, what would your message be for people to prepare at a minimum the basics?
Yes. So
to survive self-sustainability as much as you can, to release that burden off of the community and what they're trying to do.
You have to be prepared. Nobody's coming. That is the most important message that you need to know in a natural disaster or in any kind of situation. The government is not coming. You will have your neighbors. And for us, we're so thankful all of America came to help us. Yeah. But, you know, if this is a world, depending on the situation, what happens, nobody's coming. So at minimum, we provide our community with 72-hour bug out boxes is what I call them. That's got the basics, right, for 72 hours. But I solidly believe in a month, no less than 30-day preparedness. You need to come to Carolina Readiness and Supply, get on Augustin Farms, get long-term food storage, get water filtration systems, be prepared for the unexpected, because nobody... I mean, there were people in our community that were prepared, but most were not. My neighbors on day one were like, we don't have water. How do you not have water? How do you not have water? How do you not have food? And that's kind of, you know, in the beginning when we went to the parking lot and started handing out food, it was because we stopped at the gas station. It was cash only. And I said, oh, apocalypse is here. Let's buy a couple things. Let's top off our preps. And there was a mom buying food with a bag of quarters behind me. And that's when I knew we were in serious trouble. Because it was going to be a very long time before we got power. And it was. And you know, I thought, gosh, it took me 3 days to get out of my holler. This woman's been collecting quarters for 3 days because nobody's got, you know, if you don't have cash, you're not getting it. And so I beg people, and I encourage highly, at minimum 72 hours, but that's nothing. You got to be ready for 30 days. You've got to be self-sufficient for 30 days in your home, because you never know what could happen. And I feel like we're definitely still in a very fragile, just everything going on, right? Like I don't think the apocalypse is over by any means. I just think this was the apocalypse for Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee.
Yeah.
I think we're very much in trouble, and I highly encourage people to please be prepared.
And so far to date, you quoted a number of what has been raised that you spent through the hardware system.
Yeah, we've raised over $300,000.
That's incredible.
Yeah, selling T-shirts and hoodies, and because people have they've sent money, we can take appreciated stocks. So that's pretty cool. So if you have appreciated stocks that you want to donate, we can accept those and then sell them and use those proceeds. So yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I had at Hope for Survival, we had a very generous family from Georgia, near Atlanta, who has been following along the disaster, and they had made a previous gift donation, and they sent me another one recently, and I want to give from them through us to Rebuilding Hollers. Here's a check for $3,000.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I know.
Thank you, family in Atlanta.
I know the world you're living in right now, it takes lots of dollars. Escalating prices,
but
transporting
bit by
the
bit.
goods. Yeah,
bit by bit.
Family
and
by family.
That's right. We have a really cool old-timey lumber yard. It's called Summit Building Supply. So I have an escrow account there. They give me fantastic pricing, and that's how I'm able to buy. Like in new materials, I've bought over $200,000 in just brand new materials.
And you're helping your community because you're reinvesting.
That's right. We have to keep it local.
Keeping jobs.
That's right. Well, and the closest Lowe's or Home Depot is over an hour away. Yeah. But the reality is, from Summit, I can get a 4x4. It was a 4x4 post for like $15, and that very same one at Lowe's was $30. Yeah. So they're taking great care of me. They're giving me great pricing, and in that way, I can make sure my community members see. I can buy a septic tank with this. I could pay for a roof with this. I mean, really, it goes a long way when you're budgeting. And with the local community members, they're not, they don't have to pay the overhead of staying somewhere and food on the road, by keeping my locals involved and keeping the local hardware store involved, I'm able to keep the prices down as low as possible. And so thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, we'll do everything, as I know others are trying, to continue to keep the hearts and minds focused on Americans taking care of Americans, because help's not coming. We've seen it in, I don't know how many disaster areas I've been to in Helene, and it's just not coming.
It's not coming. I had no idea. I've never lived through a disaster before. I was just a realtor before the storm, so this was something I wasn't, I can't say I wasn't prepared for it because God woke me up, right? And that started actually with this store and the people that own this store. I got into prepping because I kept getting the same call over and over in real estate. They'd say, "Hey, I'm looking for 3 to 5 acres at 3,000 foot elevation." And I said, I liked them, right? They like guns, I like guns. They like property, I like property. And so that's how I started learning about preparedness, was because I was helping them in the real estate. And then I was like, well, I want to meet more of them. And so I started going to conventions and learning all the things, and that prepared me for the storm.
So where can folks find you for your real estate side?
It's Mountain Adventure Realty. Online, we're in Bakersville, Mountain Adventure Realty. Because I am doing this, my husband and I have been living on our savings the last 7 months. I was a good realtor before the storm.
With amazing properties.
Yeah,
and
if
you want to watch fun videos,
I did.
You need to go to her real estate site. Even if you're not buying real estate, just watch them because they're entertaining.
I did. I used to have the best adventures, and now we're working hard to, we'll get back to that, but it's still hard. I miss my previous. I really do miss my life, but I do know that this community, y'all stepped up when I was losing it. Y'all kept coming, and you didn't let my community fail. And I'm so thankful for my preparedness community. I think that it's, 10 years ago when I started this journey, it's definitely not something I would have expected, but I'm so thankful for it because we stick together. We understand what's happening and we stick together. And I'm so thankful for you because you came.
Well, we had lunch with a family from Hope for Survival, family up. They were from Kentucky, and we were on the road last week, and we broke bread with them. And I asked the young lady, I said, so how many trips did you end up making to North Carolina with truckloads? And she said at least 11, and then 2 suburban loads.
Yeah. So, it saved us.
And then they got hit.
Yeah.
A lot of the carpenters who were in Tennessee, Hampton, maybe down here, they were down here rebuilding from the flood, and then their community got flooded. And the Kentucky floods about a month ago.
Yeah.
Just like that. So they had to retreat, but they're coming back.
Right. And we had a lot of folks, so we were sending stuff that way when that happened. We had a lot of our some of our fire departments and different groups got together, and they would call me, and I said, I got this, and this, come get it, and we'd send it up because we know how devastating it is. But my motto is together we can do anything, and we can. We stick together and believe in ourselves. Know that when God places it on your heart, you have to follow through with that. That's what He's done for us, and I'm so thankful that He has sent all of America to help us.
Yeah.
So please don't forget about us.
I know that I could talk to her all day. I know she's got to get back up to Yancey County because they're still moving and doing great things while she's so kind to come here. And we also got to visit our dear family here with Jan and Bill.
Love them.
But thank you, and we'll do what we can to continue to funnel to help you, all right?
I promise we won't stop.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Patriot girl. She is a patriot. She's normally in red, white, and blue, typically. So thank you all for watching.
Thank you so much.
Bravo, Echo out.